මුද්‍රණය දියුණුවද? බල්බය අල්වාගේද? වාෂ්ප ජේම්ස්ගේද? බටහිර සුදුයිද? අඳුර මරණයද? මරණය අවසානයද? අකුරු මිය යයිද? කතන්දර ආලෝකයද? මාධ්‍ය ආදරයද? තොරතුරු තාක්ෂණයද? යුද්ධය සුන්දරද? රාවණා සීතාව පැහැරගත්තාද? දෙව්දත් දුෂ්ටයෙක්ද? මහාවීරට වඩා බුද්ධ දියුණුවද? අලුත් කිරිසුමේ ගැහැණුන් ලියූ පොත් කොයිද? මරිය මග්දලේනා ගණිකාවක්. ශිෂ්ටාචාරගත වීම ශිෂ්ටද? ආයුධ නිපදවන්නේ කොස්කොටද? මැද පෙරදිග බියකරුද? පලස්තීනය මැකුමේ මුද්‍රණයේදීද? ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයන් ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීද? ලෝකය සිටියමත්ද? මිනිස්සු දියුණුද? දියුණු මිනිස්සුද? ගැහැණු මිනිස්සුද? අපි සිංහ වංශයේද? එලාල දෙමළද? බුද්ධාගම සිංහලද? කාගේද? කාටද? මොකටද? ලියන්නම ඕනේද?
Thank you, Kumari. Is the West white? Is darkness death? Is death the end? Do letters die? Do stories give light? Is the media love? Is information technology? Is war beautiful? Did Columbus discover the world? Was Sita abducted by Ravana? Is Devdatta a villain? Is Mahavir less enlightened than Buddha? What happened to the Gospels written by women? Is Mary Magdalene a whore? Is civilization truly civilized? Are weapons made to chop up jackfruit? Is the Middle East a threat? Was Palestine lost in a printing mistake? Is democracy democratic? Is the world a map? Are humans progressive? Is progressiveness humane? Are women human? Are we from the lion's bloodline? Is Allah the Tamil? Is Buddhism Sinhalese? Whose? For whom? For what purpose? Does it have to be written? I'm actually going to put Neil on the spot right away. I'd like to actually begin by asking him to introduce himself as well as Anushka, who's sitting right next to him. Our panel is still in the process of being made. I believe Lakisha is there among you, and we're waiting for one more person, but we'll start now. Neil, could you perhaps begin by introducing yourself, and then we'll talk about the poem?
I'll introduce myself by first confirming I'll turn off my phone. My name's Neil Butler. I'm work with Alicia. My title is International Director of Biennale, and I participate in curating of the Biennale. I live in Glasgow, Scotland, where I'm the director of an organisation called UZ Arts. And UZ was created to develop every part of the process of making art. We set up situations where artists meet each other, where they can be commissioned, we create residencies, and we support the commissioning and producing of art. And we do so across borders and across art borders. My introduction to Sri Lanka was because I came to surfing 20 years ago, and I've been coming here virtually ever since. And some years ago I established a centre in Padua, which is a centre, an international centre for artists, where we invite artists to come and live work and discover Sri Lankan culture and to make work. And many of the artists, several of the artists who've been there over the winter have presented work from Biennale. So that's a bit of introduction. I think we're going to spot. We can go back and do that later.
I was like, I'm particularly interested in, I'd like to hear your reflections on the poem, but I'm also very interested in how you see it kind of responding to the community history.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is talking about as all artists, what one of the gunpowder or a printing press or being the source of the industrial revolution. It's very, you get two particular very important discoveries. There have been many discoveries that have taken place in the world. The discovery of wheel, for instance, is seen as incredibly important. Yet the Incas, who developed one of the largest empires in South America, didn't discover the wheel. They managed to develop an empire without a wheel. Similarly, the Incas, who dominated this whole region of South America, didn't have writing. They constructed messages by tying knots and pieces of string, which were then taken on horseback from one part of the road to another. So, whilst we retrospectively look at important inventions and inventions that have transformed our lives, you know, as a poet, we would like to say that they don't necessarily transform the way we expect, nor do we necessarily find that as a consequence of a great invention that is actually taken up at the right time. And that things that we think are very important, such as writing and wheel, aren't necessary to having an empire or indeed an important life. And I suppose one of the purposes of an artist is to inquire as to what is important in our lives. So that was the start of my response. So I read your poem this morning on my iPad. And then it also took to my mind a very important structure that, you know, if you like, if you regard a wheel as an important tool, or if you regard a printing press as a critical tool, to me, an incredibly, a tool which I define my life around, and which I define my work around, is the idea of a platform. The idea of a space that, as we are now, when we are gathered together to discuss a topic which we're only integrated, and we must remind ourselves that the purpose of the Biennale, which I'm initially described, or that the Biennale is a platform. It's a way of gathering people together, and it's a really helpful analogy that when you are thinking about bringing artistic ideas together, bringing people from cultures together, bringing any of these creative forces together, if you start with the idea of a platform, it's a very positive and it's a very useful way of gathering ideas together, because it doesn't have to come with anything local. It doesn't have to come with a Western bias, an Eastern bias, a particular bias of money or lack of money. It is a clean space. It's a space where ideas come together and artists come together, and it's possible to make work together and collaborate together. And part of the reason that I'm very involved in that is, in the first place, because I was utterly excited and intrigued by Sri Lanka and its culture, and those artists who I found to be working in Sri Lanka. But I was also intrigued by the ambition of Lucia and her colleagues in creating a platform for those artists who are perhaps not being exposed to the audience they deserve to find, were able to come to a place and be discovered, and to meet others from other societies and from other parts of the world and talk about their lives. So all these things are taking back to your turn, and I suppose the other thing which then takes us to the making history. I mean, making history is a platform for discussion. The starting point of it is the very word making history implies that there is an active engagement, that people are actually actively involved in making history. And that therefore leads on to lots of difficult questions. And the first question we might move on to, and I think we're going to go back to your poem, is what is the nature of truth? And many artists at the core of their work, they are trying to ask that question, what is the nature of truth? And artists working in traditional fields will use traditional tools, and they will explore the thing in ways that one can identify, and when one looks at the ways they explore those things, sometimes you are seeing a master at work. You are seeing someone whose ability to paint or draw or do whatever it might be is of such a high level that even those of us who aren't technological can recognise that this is a great way of representing their truth. That's very important. It's their truth.
So, thank you so much for that. Just can I just interrupt? Maybe just introduce Anushka, because in one of the, I think she's going to join us. I think that the radio already sets up for her work. Anushka, would you mind just introducing yourself to our audience?
Hello, hi. I'm Anushka and I had a crazy idea back in 2009 to do something, and this doing something evolved into the Colombo Art Biennale. The Colombo Art Biennale didn't start out as a biennale, as an international art biennale. It started out as let's do something, and it soon, very quickly, evolved into a platform as an activist for change, and I think that has driven us very much all the way through, and that's been reflected very much in the themes that we've selected for the Biennale, and there is a very strong narrative within each theme, but also one theme that links to another.
I don't know if you remember, but the first theme was imagining peace, and then the second year was becoming, and then now the third year is making history, and in a sense they round out the field. And I'm wondering, do you think you did?
Absolutely. The first theme, Imagining Peace, was launched in February 2009 when Sri Lanka was anything but in a peaceful position, and it was Digestive who came up with the theme, and it was very much a provocation to the artists not to present works under peace, but imagining peace. So asking the artist to imagine what could peace possibly look like. Well, despite the announcement of the end of the armed conflict in May, and different artists from different backgrounds and different schools of thought all came together under one theme and one roof, which we felt was in itself an act of peace. So with the next Biennale in 2012, still obviously very hot on the heels of the end of the armed conflict, Becoming was a provocation. We were asking the artists to be personally involved in the becoming, and to address this idea of what are we becoming, having been in a long-term situation. And again, with the theme of making history, again it's a provocation to ask artists and audiences to be personally involved in the making of our own histories. It's kind of requesting for artists to raise their awareness in what they were doing. And going back to the poem, unfortunately I only had a small bit of poem I'd just flown in from Dhaka, from the art summit. But going back to the poem, I think I would agree with Neil in the sense that the questions, obviously there are many questions here, and the questions question very much our conceptions, our conditionings, our preconceptions, and that is very much what artists are doing, addressing those questions, engaging us to reconsider our conceptions, and then again, as I was just saying, to be actively involved, to be conscious and think about these questions and these conditions that we follow.
I actually have this interesting, I think if there are these youth essays like that, there's this interesting paragraph there where they are talking about the war artist advisory committee, and they are asked the reader to consider the value of reflection of future generations. And there's this stunning paragraph that says, what did it look like? They will ask in 1981. And no amount of description or documentation will answer them. Nor would big formal compositions like the battle pictures which hang in palaces, and even photographs which tell us so much, could leave out the colour and peculiar feeling of these events in these extraordinary years. Only the artist, with his heightened powers of perception, can recognize which elements in the scene can be equal to posterity in the natural sense of style. I mean, I think that's a wonderful description of what it means to be but I would now actually like to use this opportunity to drag out our third very shy panelist out of my company, we will interview her. And Latisha may speak in Sinhala, depending on what she feels comfortable with, and I'm going to pull Rumani from the back to act as our translator. Will you shout from there?
Yeah. Or someone closer.
Just a little bit of background. I think one of the most significant and continuous movements of contemporary art in Sri Lanka has stemmed from the 90s trend, which came out as a reaction to the colonialist art education in the country, where artists were very much being driven in the very kind of Western colonial style of painting, and it had come to a point where it was simply no longer relevant, and a lot of artists responded to that. And the theatre that was mentioned was started as a collective and built up a group of artists that were directly responding to the need for artists to be able to express themselves and redefine and to redefine their work. And in the first decade of the 2000s, a lot of these artists began to forge links with other collectives in the region, like Brito in Bangladesh, Vasan in Pakistan, and Koj in India. And through this network, there were international residencies and workshops that were set up that were very, very positive, and gave opportunity for Sri Lankan artists to start working in different mediums such as installation and performance and object art and so on. One of the reasons why I felt it was important to create a platform such as the Colombo Art Biennale was to create a window on this work, because it was still relatively underground, and this community of artists were working very hard, but it had become a little bit not insular, but just people from Colombo couldn't be bothered to travel to theatre in Pitakoti, which is really not very far away, but most people just couldn't be bothered to go and see these exhibitions. And the works that were coming out of these exhibitions were were and continue to be very, very strong exhibitions. So I felt frustrated that what I was seeing at these exhibitions and what I was seeing in the artist studios was not what I was seeing in the very few frequented galleries in Colombo. Being a gallerist, and I'm also a gallerist, is obviously very, very subjective. every gallerist has his or her taste in art and what they like to show. So creating a platform like the Colombo Art Biennale gave an opportunity not only for these artists to be able to create works and show works and to be seen and to be seen by a larger audience, but also to raise awareness within the local community and then eventually also in the international community. So, and in addition, to kind of be a little bit of a whip cracker as well, to push the artist to work in an expansive way, because, you know, like Isha, I know, when you know that you've got a Biennale coming up and you know that there are, it's been it's an open call, but it's a very, very, strict selection process, and we're also bringing in, significant international artists. Obviously, we have to work hard to create new works that are expansive.
That actually ties in very well to the idea. I have to tell you, because last time, because of the last Biennale, I found Anusha, friend of Diva did golden medal. Remember, because of Diva, I met Anusha. So this is good opportunity for other thing is Vera did as a project lead Sri Lanka. So some different works. So because of that work, Vera got opportunity for the first solo exhibition. Because of the Biennale, she found another path. It's very important. So we found many ways to
I think people understand your intention. I mean, what I would also like to ask you to look at a little bit as well. Anushka mentioned she talked in terms of community, and she did talk about. She said that Colombo and that. But I mean, we spoke about how emerging artists, especially around language issues, have trouble accessing these opportunities.
as a community project. I'm talking about I did one postcard. So you can post your own postcard with some friends. So I focus on old movies. I think we haven't enough local. I think publicity has some problem. Anytime I try to use my contact and the local, especially similar. I think I know many similar people, especially normal generation people, they don't understand our art. But that's the meaning of community. Somehow we have to take the Indian level. That's the basic thing. I don't know successful. So basically got enough. I sold close to more than 300 poems. But it is more than 80% is poems, not poems. So I think I don't know but you can take water over and then visiting in a way most of people like friends, especially young people who know about this situation. And it's good that this time, but last time I think we got more than 5,000 out. And Amit said this time we got more than 10,000. So happy. That's why it was a very funding is a major problem. But Jagat said really no need funds. If you can contribute something for our art field, so that's why whether we get or not somehow achieve. Personally, I put some money and my other group members let's bring that kind of engagement, but to be an artifact here it hasn't been in public spaces. And Amit says we need to move out in public spaces. In fact, initially
for an artist. But the starting point is not to look at it. My starting point is to say to that art should be relevant, and that art should make work of a child, and that then the danger when the danger of the great art in galleries and handballs and theatre and festivals, that you're in danger of creating churches to art, which exclude those who belong to a church. And that's a huge danger. And so I was absolutely delighted with this edition with discussions around it and all that the work was going out to that art. And in fact, most of my work in Europe was about making art in public space. So somebody yesterday when Vigorous Tech created his power, and to me it's a fantastic example of an artist working in public space where the public is totally engaged. You cannot make that sound unless the public help you. Although it's the artist's perception, it's this idea's vision of how the art works, they construction on paper. It's the public going out building bricks and putting bricks together, and those of you who saw it being created, it is literally a living experience. So I think that area of work is immensely important. I just support all of it, but I think what goes alongside that is that we have to create new qualities. And I think one of the huge challenges for the Biennale, and which, I know students are much used to China and visual team, is where is the economy in Sri Lanka that will support artists? And there are only a handful of galleries, and they are only representing a small portion of artists, and even those artists are well represented and are well sold, probably aren't able to do it. So, we have to start from the ground again and say, well, are there new economies, are there new ways of working, are there new ways of engaging with our business and culture and our issues to make this work? And there are, I guarantee it, this is a visit where obviously I've done most of my work. Up until this year, we never charged them. All the festivals that I've been involved with, all the events that we've created, they are free to the public. And so the reason they're free is that we found a different way of bringing together the interests which are served when the public gather together and have an amazing experience so you have to work. So
is there a way that you have a network that is consistent in determining the support of the art? How do you go about doing that sort of
when you were talking about the world organisation, the work that is a connection. The great benefit in that is that it's putting all this together, it's creating connections between those who are interested in art and artists. And I think that one of the definitions of the festival, to make it one of the definitions, is a punctuation point in the cultural life of the city, the region, right? And that the work that our team will be doing, really wanting to do that year round, day on day on day on day, we happen to have this sort of amazing punctuation point where you all gather together and see the consequence. But those artists have been working day after day for years, making work and developing themselves. And so really the best way of moving forward to meet them with that is these relationships and where they're sustaining themselves on day to day. And then find ways of good excuses to get out together. And hopefully it's a great tradition that is an exhibition where we can get together. But I think the more we have reels, we can talking, we have more events, more things can happen. We will feel really contributing.
So I'm sure we are now wrapping up this exhibition and as we
Someone raised a point that I think is quite important.
creative ways to make art accessible to the public. So already the last Biennale, we started to work with interactive artworks. And this time we expanded on that by doing the live art component. So we weren't able to do as many like site-specific works as we wanted to, because as the team well know, we're dealing with the whole commission thing here. I mean, trying to get them really perfect tower. I mean, until the last minute we did, and then when we had the mission, police still came along and couldn't believe us and forced it to our own day. We had another one from my artists who came in and workshopped with some local performers. Fantastic. And they went out into the street and made people smile and caused a few traffic jams and climbed on buses, and we went into the park. We went into the park and on Independence Day and celebrated Independence Day, which is quite a interesting way, but engaged with the public. And everyone loved it. Everyone was laughing. And at the end, a policeman came on. Finally, we got past 4 police, but finally, a last police came. And we moved us on. We're not allowed to sing in the street. We're not allowed to. We're not free to do so. It's a huge challenge. But the Colombo Art Biennale is not. It doesn't really follow the model of international biennales because it's simply art. There's financial resources, we have challenges like commissions and spaces. So what it forces us to do is to work in a creative way. And that's why each biennale we create and recreate the biennale. So rather than setting a model and strategically planning what's going to happen every 2 years, we bring in what's relevant. We bring in topics that are relevant, we create a theme that's relevant, and we find new ways of engaging the culture. So, yeah, I just wanted to on that point. It's a bigger picture. Why are the arts still viewed as something elitist?
I would like to actually consider again one short time. I just like to see this. I was talking with that on the Biennale for 3 different stages, where one piece, one experience, people will learn that
highlight for me definitely is after spending a year and a half working on the Biennale and being so involved in pretty much every single aspect of the Biennale, and until you never really know what's going to go on. So the setting up days when all the artists come in and everyone's involved and everyone's teaming together and making it happen always in a very short space of time. I just come back from the Dakar Art Summit where they had 45 days of installation of a 3-day event. I mean, you know, that's what I think is notion. So we're working for like 24 hours through the night, and it creates a wonderful energy, and it's again like a very perfect Biennale. It's fantastic coming together, forging links between different artists from different countries, and seeing that all blossom is without question for me the biggest highlight.
The whole thing about artists is like they want to do the world and they create new vocabularies and find different ways of what the community can do Smriti said that our experience in the way of working has moved on, and the way it's moved on is to embrace salvage, more than still being realised, but more than realised to installation work in the fact that the performance work has been quite a revelation. It's just amazing performance work. The amount of participation of the project making work. So I think it's just the whole experience rather than the artist. I mean, the whole experience has been very grossly fulfilling, and this, I just feel that we need to rely on it deeper, and that the experience of all this, because we're all making it, we are all here, we are all making it together, the experience of all of us gets increasingly enriched. And I just, what I think is most important is that this conversation, this continuing conversation that's happening over the next 2 years. We're not going to have to wait to get together onto a method plan to continue developing.
Spaces for art pieces, everything I can challenge.
I was just saying that my question was also whether people that have seen movies and have media, and then I was saying that you can't do receptive audience or just an audience. You need a course of media number, so say the 10 weeks, and it's an ongoing process. I mean, we start now to make an audience for the next year or I mean, even as individual artists, it's a lifetime of work to do your audience. That was one thing I wanted to add.
But last time we got the only know that last time. So this is our third time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
do you think it had anything to do with the rubber stove being almost like that?
Possibly, and also in the stage, because a lot of people took Wednesdays on Tuesdays, people took Monday off. That was unfortunate. But I think despite those, there are a lot of things know, we should be working much better with this. How do we access those
I mean, we had to add on to the talks, like students from like academy of Colombo already. I know some kind of performance, a lecturer from the University of Colombo already in her class. You know, so there were moments where teachers will force their students to come to events. So I really think it is about a continuing sort of attempt at creating an all. I don't know if it can be like even advertising and all. Really think so.
I do think that is an issue, and I mean, that's just something to look at in one of the next years. Jay was very interesting comment about which these coming 2 years are actually a chance to look forward to being a lot together stronger. But, Jay, the question. So when all these